Hello everyone. Today we will see the lecture in obstetrics, and the topics of obstetrics are now labor related. So first topic in that series is normal labor. From this lecture we are going to discuss about normal labor, diseases or abnormalities of labor, complications of labor, various types of labor, and different disorders related to labor. So this will continue from normal labor. So today we are going to discuss the first topic, which is normal labor. A definition of normal labor is the process of expulsion of fetus from vagina, mature fetus from vagina with vertex presentation. Vertex means fetal head, and the presenting parts are followed by the birth of baby, and this process should be spontaneous, it should be uncomplicated and not delayed. So this is the definition of normal labor. Normal labor is the process of expulsion of mature fetus per vagina with vertex presentation, which is followed by afterbirths, and the process should be spontaneous, uncomplicated and not delayed. So this is definition. Afterbirth means fetus is delivered and placenta membranes are delivered afterwards. That is called as afterbirth. So that was the definition. Next, stages of labor. Normal labor is divided into 3 stages. Normally the labor is seen in these stages, and the first stage is from the onset of labor. Onset of labor means starting of labor pains, that we call as onset of labor. So from onset of labor to full dilatation of cervix. Full dilatation of cervix means cervix opens about 8 to 10 centimeter. That is full dilatation of cervix. So this is the first stage, from onset of labor to full dilatation of cervix. And the duration for this first stage is for primipara patient. Primipara means patients who are first time pregnant. In those patients, the timing for this first stage is about 10 hours. And for multipara patient, it is 5 hours. Multipara means pregnancy second or third time. So timing is 5 hours. So it is the first stage from onset of labor to full dilatation. Primi 10 hours, multi 5 hours. That means from this we can calculate that patient has started the labor pains. That doesn't mean that she will deliver within few hours. Primary will take 10 hours. That is the waiting period for the patient, and for multipara it is 5 hours. So in this period we can prepare the patient, we can do our arrangements for delivery, and we can monitor that patient for cervical dilatation, for FHS and other things. So we admit her and usually kept in labor ward. And second stage of labor is from full dilatation of cervix to birth of baby. This is the actual stage where delivery takes place. So from the full dilatation of cervix to delivery of baby. For primipara patient it is 1 hour, and for multipara it is half an hour. This is the actual process of delivery. Third stage of labor is from birth of baby to delivery of placenta. And for both primary as well as multipara patient, it is a period that is just 5 to 10 minutes. After birth of baby, placenta delivers within 10 minutes. So this is the third stage. So first stage is from onset of labor to full dilatation. Second stage is from full dilatation to birth of baby. And third stage is from birth of baby to expulsion of placenta. For primipara, first stage is 10 hours. Second stage is 1 hour, and third stage is 10 minutes. Multipara, first stage is 5 hours, second is half an hour, and third is 5 to 10 minutes. So this is about the staging of labor as well as duration of labor. Okay. From this we can know the what exactly patient belongs to which stage. That means patient is in first stage. That means she has just started the labor pains and the cervix is not completely dilated. Whenever it is completely dilated, she will go in second stage. And from complete dilatation to birth of baby is second stage. After birth of baby, we call that stage as third stage of labor. And duration, from duration we can know the exact whether the labor is progressing in normal duration or not. If patient is taking more time than expected period, then that is called as prolonged labor. If it is very fast, it is precipitated labor. So from this we can know the normal things. So that is about the stages of labor. Now we will discuss about the causes of labor. What are the factors that are responsible to cause the labor pains? Because pregnancy is, duration of pregnancy is 36 weeks, 9 months she is carrying the fetus. But up till now there are no labor pains. But at the end of 36 weeks, what changes occurs in her body so that there is a spontaneous occurrence of this labor? So there are some events which occur simultaneously and that leads to labor pain or normal labor takes place. And the three factors which are responsible for this labor pains, and these factors are maternal, fetal and placental factors. These factors along with all the changes starts the labor. So maternal factor is usually from the posterior pituitary gland of mother. There is secretion of oxytocin hormone. This hormone is very much important and is the responsible hormone for causing labor pains. So from pituitary of mother, posterior pituitary of mother, there is secretion of hormone oxytocin. This oxytocin causes prostaglandin secretion in her circulation, as well as this causes myometrial contraction, that is muscular contraction, uterine muscular contraction. So this hormone related with prostaglandin secretion as well as uterine muscle contractions. And because of this uterine contractions, actually there is also increased production of prostaglandin. So these things occur simultaneously, muscle contraction as well as PGA2 synthesis, that is prostaglandin synthesis. So contraction starts, secretion of prostaglandin. Because of prostaglandin, excessive contractions or continuous contractions takes place. So these things are very similar to each other. Then there is, because of this contraction, there is formation of gap junction between uterine muscle, and because of this contractions are regular or they are rhythmically spread in the uterus. So the contractions are very regular. If contractions are not regular, then they will cause the improper dilatation of cervix, or the contractions, if they are not sufficient, then progress of labor will not take place. So contractions should be in proper rhythm and they should be regular. So because of this hormone oxytocin, uterine contraction starts, form the gap junction in between muscles, so that contractions have become very rhythmic and regular, along with PGA2 synthesis, prostaglandin synthesis. So this is the main factor which starts or triggers the labor pain. Secondly, because of placenta, placental progesterone. Placenta secretes hormone progesterone, which is responsible to increase the oxytocin receptor. That progesterone hormone, placental progesterone, increases the receptors, oxytocin receptors in uterus. So if there is increased level of this receptor, more and more oxytocin will be recepted, and more and more contractions along with prostaglandin synthesis will take place. So this progesterone is important. Also it releases, placenta releases calcium, which is important for healthy contraction. So this is the second factor. Third factor is fetal factor. Fetal synthesis is corticosteroid, that is cortisol, is secreted from fetal circulation, and this also increases the oxytocin level as well as prostaglandin level. So all these three factors, when works together, they will lead to normal labor. If at all any one of these factors is not working in proper order, then sufficient labor pain will not take place and labor will not progress. In that case, we have to do our artificial interference, that is artificial induction of labor or cesarean. So these three factors should work in similar manner, or synchronization between these three factors is very important. All these factors, when work together, they will cause sufficient and regular normal labor pains. If pains or contractions are sufficient, then only they will push the baby and normal labor take place. So these are the three factors which are important for labor pain. This is the cause for labor pain and it is the normal physiology of labor. Now there are changes during labor, and we call it as contraction. In labor we are always saying the contractions, relaxation, retraction. These terms are very important, and uterine contraction means shortening of uterine muscle. which is followed by relaxation. That means there is contraction, shortening of muscle. We can see the shortening of muscle per abdominally during labor pain. And after that there is a period which is called as relaxation. That is regaining of muscle length, original length of that muscle. Retraction is a term whenever there is shortening of muscle but it is not followed by relaxation. Muscles are continuously contracted. This stage usually is not normal. Contraction and relaxation. This is the normal pattern. So this is about the contraction, relaxation and retraction. So uterine contraction in first stage or early stage is 30 to 60 seconds. Whenever we are saying onset of labor to full dilatation. So contraction, shortening of muscle is seen up to 30 to 60 seconds. We can see the shortening of muscle and we can calculate the timing also. And by seeing the contraction and timing, we can judge the patient's stage of labor. And in second stage, this contraction is about 60 to 90 seconds per contraction, or each contraction remains for 60 to 90 seconds. From that we can know patient is in actual labor stage. And interval is 1 to 3 contractions per 10 minutes in first stage and 4 to 5 contractions in 10 minutes in second stage. This is about contraction, relaxation in different stages. Now there are changes during labor, anatomical changes during labor. In that there is first of all formation of soft tissue passage. That means soft tissue like uterus, cervix. So changes in these organs. Uterine changes are there is formation of upper active segment of uterus, that is uterine body or fundus. It is the upper active segment. That segment contracts, relax. So that segment is actually participating in labor. So it is upper active segment. Second is lower passive segment. That means that this segment, lower passive segment or cervical segment, it only dilates. So it is passive, lower passive segment. At the junction of these two segments, there is a ring which is called as, there is a ring which is physiological ring. Okay. Now cervical changes during labor. Cervix shows the changes which is called as softening, effacement and dilatation. During the labor, cervix becomes soft. Effaced means it is taken up or it goes up from fetal part, and dilatation means it opens from 2 cm to 10 cm. That is we can insert our finger in that cervix, and 2 cm means we can insert our one finger. 4 cm, that is 2 finger dilatation. In likewise cervix dilates from 2 cm to 10 cm, and whenever there is dilatation of 10 cm, that means it is complete dilatation of cervix or full dilatation of cervix. So these are the cervical changes: softening, effacement and dilatation. And these cervical changes are called as cervical ripening. Okay. This is about anatomical change in female body. There is also passage of there is formation of passage during labor. Anteriorly there is bladder, urethra, and posteriorly perineum, anal canal, rectum is also preparing for labor. Perineum stretches during labor and it becomes broad in shape, and there is opening of anus also during labor. So these changes simultaneously take place so that there is increased space for baby to travel. So baby is the passenger during this labor. Passage is the bony pelvis and soft tissue passage in female, and passenger means baby. Baby's head is the main thing which passes from the pelvic cavity. So this is about the introduction of labor, causes, physiology and anatomy of labor. Now we will proceed to see the mechanism of labor. Mechanism of labor means the series of movements adopted by fetus in birth passage during expulsion. That is called as normal labor mechanism. Series of movements which are adopted by the baby during the passage, during expulsion or during delivery. So these are the series of movements which baby usually adopts during its passage during labor. And we are going to see the movements, different types of movements. Normal labor usually takes place by two presentation or two positions, that is left occipito anterior and right occipito anterior. Left occipito anterior is the very common position for normal delivery, and left occipito-anterior means left occipito-anterior. Each term have its significance. LOA in short we called it as. We had seen about the basic introduction about fetal skull and female pelvis. So that you have to revise for this. Now mechanism of labor starts from first stage, that is called as engagement. In engagement, LOA, in that position engagement takes place. Engagement of fetal occiput on left iliopectinal eminence, that means occiput engages on anterior segment, so it is called as LOA, that is left occipito anterior. Occiput engages on left iliopectinal eminence, and fetal diameter is right oblique diameter, and maternal diameter is fetal diameter is biparietal diameter, and maternal diameter is right oblique diameter. And the length of right oblique diameter is, we had discussed it in our female pelvis lecture. In that, diameter length is 12 centimeter and fetal length is 9.4 centimeter. Fetal diameter, that is biparietal, is 9.4 centimeter. Suboccipitobregmatic, occiput means back side of head, so suboccipitobregmatic is about 9.4 centimeter, and fetal diameter is 9.4 centimeter, maternal diameter is 12 centimeter. So there is easy passage of baby, so baby easily delivers. That is about engagement. Engagement, LOA, occiput engages on left iliopectinal eminence. Sinciput, that is baby's chin, engages on right sacroiliac joint, and maternal diameter is right oblique, fetal is suboccipitobregmatic, that is 9.4 centimeter. This is engagement. Second is descent and flexion. Baby's head descends with flexion. Usually in pregnancy, baby, or during delivery also, baby's attitude is always flexed. All the parts of babies are very close to body, so always flexion attitude is seen. So baby descends with flexion. Next is internal rotation. Fetal head or occiput rotates by 1/8 of the circle in the pelvis. If pelvis is divided, that circle is divided into 8 quadrants, then baby travels 1/8 of circle during the internal rotation, and it comes under pubic symphysis. Now extension, baby delivers by extension. Baby moves with flexion but delivers with extension. Baby extends its head and delivers. Next is restitution. Restitution is head occiput rotates by 1/8 of the circle. It is out of pelvis now. So occiput rotates by 1/8 of the circle, and it is to remove its twist. So whenever it rotates in the pelvis, that is internal rotation, it rotates by 1/8 of the circle, and remove that twist, it again rotates outside the pelvis, that is restitution. Next is external rotation. This is again occiput rotates by 1/8 of the circle. This movement is to engage the shoulder, because whenever the delivery of head takes place, the parts of baby which are going to deliver or which are traveling in the pelvis, those parts are going to engage now. So external rotation, that is occiput rotates by another 1/8 of the circle for engagement of shoulder. So next step is lateral flexion. In this, shoulder and other baby's trunk is delivered, and posterior shoulder delivers first and then anterior shoulder. So this is about the mechanism of labor. These are the steps of labor or steps of delivery of baby. For you it is not so easy to just imagine. So we had given you the slides. You can see these slides after the lecture, and you can have demo of normal labor. But for just to revise the mechanism, first step is engagement. Occiput engages on iliopectinal eminence. There are fetal diameter and fetal diameter and maternal diameter. Next step is in LOA. If we are considering the position which is LOA, that is left occipito-anterior. In that, occiput engages on left iliopectinal eminence and sinciput on right sacroiliac joint. Maternal diameter is right oblique, and fetal is suboccipitobregmatic, that is 9.4 centimeter. Second step is descent and flexion. Baby's head descends with flexion. Next is internal rotation. Head rotates by 1/8 of the circle, comes under pubic symphysis. Next is extension, head delivers with extension. Restitution, head rotates by 1/8 of the circle to remove the twist. Next is external rotation, head rotates another 1/8 of the circle for engagement of shoulder. Next is lateral flexion, that is delivery of shoulder and trunk of baby. Posterior shoulder delivers first and then anterior. So this is about mechanism of labor. Up till now we had seen physiology, anatomy during labor. We had discussed about the movements of baby or mechanism which takes place during the labor. After that we are going to discuss about the clinical features of labor. Clinical features are usually those are the things which we can see during the labor. So pain is the main feature, or pain is the main symptom for labor. Patient have recurrent, severe, excruciating abdominal pains. Those pains are unbearable, bearing down sensation. Patient have constant sensation of bearing down. Patient have something coming out sensation, passage of involuntary passage of urine, sometimes stool. So all these things are seen with pain. Along with this pain, patient is very much exhausted, dehydrated, there may be nausea, vomiting. So all these factors are seen during the labor. And labor pain duration, interval, we had seen in physiology of labor. For first stage it is 30 to 60 seconds, and contraction duration also we had seen, that is 1 to 3 contractions initially, and second stage duration is 60 to 90 seconds, and duration or interval is 4 to 5 contractions per 10 minutes. So this type of pain is seen. Along with this, there may be backache, lower abdominal pain, there may be pain referred to knees, thighs. So pain is very much essential part also, because if there is sufficient labor pain, then only labor will take place. So this is the type of pain which is seen in delivery. Secondly, there is show or cervical discharge, which is blood-stained thick cervical mucus. It should be present with this pain, then only that pains are called as true labor pain. If they are false labor pain, then the contraction of labor pain or duration interval is not proper as given our schedule. That means 30 to 60 seconds, 60 to 90 seconds, and interval 1 to 3, 4 to 5. This is not seen in false labor pain. If patient is in false labor, that means the patient having the false labor pain, those pains are not sufficient for labor, and it is not seen, the show is not seen with labor pain. Show means cervical discharge, cervical thick mucus which is blood stained, and it is seen during the labor, during the delivery. So pain is also always seen with this show in normal labor. Next, all the things which had seen, various vague symptoms are seen with this passage of urine. There may be pain during urination, passage of stool, sometimes pain during this also. Backache is seen. Patient is very weak. Patient have giddiness. Sometimes patient is nauseatic. Vomiting attacks are seen. So all these associated complaints are also seen. Main and important clinical feature is pain, abdominal pain with discharge. Some patient may have watery discharge, that is passage of amniotic fluid. So all these things can be seen. In second stage, these pains are increased and they are very excruciating, and patient is usually in severe labor pain, and some patient may go in shock-like condition. So this is about the symptoms of patient. On examination, signs, patients usually have blood pressure, slight increased blood pressure during labor. Some patient, because of increased pain and other things, may have hypotension, low blood pressure. Usually there is tachycardia, increased pulse rate. Some patient, because of exhaustion, bradycardia can develop. So these are usually general signs. Temperature is usually normal. After delivery, temperature falls down because of severe exhaustion during labor. So these are general things which we can find during normal labor. These things are normal: increased blood pressure, slight increased blood pressure or decreased blood pressure, increase or decrease pulse rate, temperature fluctuation. If it is in normal range, then it's okay. If there is high grade fever, you can have to diagnose for any infection, genital infection. If patient is having severe blood pressure, that means patient may develop eclampsia or like condition, so we have to monitor her BP. So slight increase or decrease in these things can be expected during labor. Per abdomen, contractions can be seen according to stage of labor. Duration interval as given we can see on her abdomen also. FHS, fetal heart sounds, can be heard per abdominally, and PSPV examination show or cervical discharge, bleeding, watery discharge can be seen. Cervical dilatation, depending on stage, we can diagnose 2 centimeter to 10 centimeter cervical dilatation. Softening of cervix, effacement of cervix, all these things can be palpable. Perineum stretching, bulging, we can see on table. So these are the clinical features of patient, first and second stage. Third stage, usually after delivery, patient does not have any important complaint, but patient is exhausted. So maybe blood pressure decrease, hypotension, bradycardia. Because of severe exhaustion, all these things can develop. And bleeding starts in third stage. So because of bleeding also, patient is exhausted. So these clinical features is seen, clinical features of first, second and third stage. So these are the things which we can see in normal labor. Now management or treatment of labor. Treatment of labor actually starts from the admission of patient. As we had discussed, first stage of labor, that is onset of labor to full dilatation of cervix. So that is the starting of labor, where we have to decide the patient whether she is in true labor or false labor. For this, we had our criterias. We can see the labor pain, duration of that labor pain and the severity of labor pain. And if it is true labor, we have to admit that patient. After admission, we have to take all the antiseptic precautions. We have to prepare the patient. We have to prepare our labor room. We have to prepare and ready for our instruments. So preparation starts from this stage. During second stage, we have to do our active management. But before that, if patient is in first stage and patient have severe pains, excruciating pains, and because of excessive pain, she may go in shock. So excessive exhaustion of patient should be avoided, because in first stage, if patient have severe pain, in that stage there is no dilatation. So actual labor will not take place in that stage. So we have to just minimize those labor pains. So in some patient, we have to give some analgesics to reduce the pain, because if she is exhausted in first stage only, then she will not have the power to push the baby during second stage. So for this stage, to minimize the labor pains, we can give some analgesics or sedatives. So injection Fortrin, Phenergan, Pethidine, Diazepam, these sedatives can be given depending on her condition, and analgesics can be given and we can stop her pain or we can minimize the labor pain. And after that, admission of patient, we have to monitor her pulse, BP, temperature, respiratory rate per hourly. We have to also record the fetal FHS, fetal heart sounds, head descent curve of that baby. That means how the head is descends in the pelvis. That also we have to write down. We have to maintain partograph or cervicograph. That means cervical dilatation. Per hourly, we have to write down the cervical dilatation. If it is increasing 2 centimeter, 4 centimeter, 6 centimeter, that means progressive changes are seen. Head descent curve. Head, whenever it is in the pelvis, it is zero station. If it is entering in the pelvic cavity and it is descending per hourly, that means it is having the good descent curve, that is positive stations. And if pelvis is obstructed, head is obstructed in the pelvis, that means descent curve is not favorable, and we have to give some injections to increase the contractions. So head descent curve is also important. Uterine contractions also, we have to record the duration, intensity and frequency of contraction. We have to check for the amniotic fluid membrane, if it is present or it is ruptured. If it is ruptured, color of fluid and other things also we have to record. So recording of all these things should be done in first stage. We have to prepare our instruments like forceps, arteries, scissors, catheters, speculums and sutures, scissors and other things. For those things should be autoclaved and kept ready during labor. Now management during second stage, patient is taken on table. Patient should have given IV fluid because of to avoid the shock because of exhaustion. We have to give IV fluids. Lithotomy position, proper cleaning, draping, of abdomen, and bladder emptying, if not with catheter, and bladder should be empty, rectum should be empty. So if she is not able to pass, then we have to give enema. So all these things are done, and proper PSPV examination to confirm the dilatation. If complete dilated cervix, we take the patient on table. Now when we take the patient, we have to maintain our IV line. If head is not properly descending, dilatation is not properly seen, then we can add some injections like oxytocin injections, and we can give epidocin injection to increase the dilatation, and we have to start our active management. Now during labor, patient is given proper position, and with assistant pushing the fetal head in lower direction, we have to deliver that baby, holding baby's head properly, and giving pressure on perineum also to avoid the tear. Before that, we have to do one procedure, that is episiotomy. During the contraction, we give local anesthesia, and we take the incision with episiotomy scissor. Mediolateral incision is taken on the thigh from perineum to thigh. This is to increase the space for delivering of baby, so that cervical or perineum tear should be avoided. So by giving episiotomy, after giving episiotomy, we deliver the head of baby with proper fundal pressure. Assistant or nurse is giving fundal pressure, pushing baby in lower direction, and we hold the baby in both hands and we deliver the baby. After delivering of baby, suction of baby, if there is mucus in nose, mouth, we have to suck it properly. And after that, cord is clamped, cut, baby is separated. After noting baby's weight, sex, baby is carefully wrapped and given to assistant. And now we have to clamp the cord and we have to remove the placenta. So here our third stage starts. By giving injection, if necessary, we can add injection oxytocin so that contractions should be increased. Injection methargin is usually given to stop the bleeding. And we have to do the control cord traction. That means we have to give a gentle pressure on the umbilical cord, and by gentle traction we have to pull the placenta, separated placenta from uterus. Now in this stage we have to be very careful. If placenta is separated from uterus spontaneously, there will be fresh bleeding, fresh red color bleeding which can be seen. Only after this we have to remove the placenta. Unless otherwise, if we give unwanted pressure on this placenta, that can be ruptured or that can be teared, and the cord only will remain in our hand and placenta will be in uterus. So then it will be very difficult for us to remove that placenta, and for that we have to do surgical procedure. Even after baby's delivery with normal method, we have to unwanted give the surgical things to that patient. So after complete separation of placenta, whenever there is fresh bleeding is seen, we have to remove the placenta. After removal of placenta, we have to check for any tear, rupture, and then we have to do the suturing of episiotomy. We have taken the cut on mediolateral incision is taken, so we have to now suture that. So by catgut we took the stitches and we do the suturing of that wound. After suturing, we give some antibiotic analgesic to patient, IV line is continued, and then proper cleaning of the organs and proper pads and other things are given. Vital signs are recorded, maternal vital signs, BP, pulse, temperature, all the things are recorded, and patient is shifted. And this is about the management. Advice for immediate breastfeeding and proper cleaning and other thing of wound is advised. So that is about management of normal labor. This is about labor, onset of labor, physiology of labor, anatomy of labor, clinical course of labor, mechanism of baby to deliver, clinical features or expression of patient, and active management of labor. So this is about complete introduction and detail about normal labor.